My man John Mitchell and I ponder if the Sixers should build around Tyrese Maxey as opposed to Joel Embiid. Welcome to Locked On 76ers. I'm your host, Keith Pompey. This is my man, John Mitchell. Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com/locked on to get started. As I stated in the beginning, we're going to ponder if the Sixers should build around Tyrese Maxey as opposed to Joel Embiid this summer. And then in the second segment, we want to compare the Boston Celtics to the Sixers. There was a time when people thought the Sixers' future was brighter than the Boston Celtics, believe it or not. But then years of bad moves by the Sixers, years of great moves by the Celtics have an opportunity to win a championship this year, while the Sixers went out in the first round. So we'll talk about that more. Now, Mitch, what about you, man? How do you feel about the Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid thing? Now, would you build around Maxey, a younger player, or Joel?
I'm firmly as far as building, because you build around young players, you build for the present and the future. One player is 30, and when healthy, he's the best player on the planet. The other player is a rapidly ascending young phoenix of a player who took people's breath away during the playoffs with some incredible play, and was easily the most improved player in the NBA this year, and a player they got the 21st pick in the draft when they drafted him. So I say all that. Let me end my meandering by saying I build around Maxey, man. I build around Maxey because Tyrese Maxey is more durable. The best ability is availability. Is he the better player? No, it's not even close. We saw what happened when Joel was not on the floor with it, during that stretch where he missed 8 weeks. They rushed Max and they made it difficult for him. So, okay, let's get that out the way. Joel's the better player. But Joel's just not there all the time. So if I have to, and I also think that with Joel's abilities, his ability to drift out to the high post, sometimes too much for my liking. But who am I? I think you have to. I say Maxey, man. I say Maxey, Keith. Only because he's 7 years younger. 7 years younger, and he's a damn good player. And I see him continuing to elevate his game. He has the personality, he has the coachability, and he's just younger, man. It's a young man's game. Youth must be served.
Yeah, you know what? It's weird. I keep thinking the same thing too. I mean, that they should. But then sometimes I say, well, why can't you build around both, right? Or you get someone of both. But I do feel like I feel like the weaknesses that they had were basically pairing somebody with Maxey, right? Mm-hmm. So when you factor that in regards to getting someone, that's only going to help the whole team out. And I think you have to, like, I think that, we're talking about, what are the biggest question marks for this Sixers team? There's two things. Perimeter defense, who's going to help Maxey in the perimeter defense, and who's going to help him in regards to ball handling, right? I get it, all-star point guard, this and that. But, as far as the passes, it wasn't always right there. Like, he's a scoring guard, and he can get out in space and he can do that. But I do believe in regards to building around them, if they can get a long perimeter player or someone who can help with the perimeter D, that's only going to shore up that defense, and it's only going to make things better for everyone else.
Right.
And so, but again, if you got a shooter, that will help out with both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
Both of them, you know what I mean? But I am right. I'm with you, man. I do think the more that we talk about it, like the weaknesses that they have is perimeter defense, not having another ball handler. Like you have one in Kyle, but he's getting a little older, so you might need somebody a little bit younger who you could get Maxey to slide off the ball at certain stretches. So I'm with you, man. I really am. I mean, and I get it. I know the time is now. I know Joel Embiid is the MVP type of thing, but these weaknesses are glaring. And something that you alluded to or you pointed out is that there's going to be games where Joel's not playing, and you're going to need to rely heavily on Maxey, and he's going to need some help. Now, a guy like Paul George will help out. LeBron, all those guys will help out in that category. Yeah. But yeah, you need to build some like Maxey. And the thing is, if you weren't real, this is where a Mikal Bridges comes in at. If you weren't saying, okay, we want to win now, and I do think that Mikal can help you become a better team, but there are better options out there with the Paul George and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But could you imagine Mikal Bridges and Maxey for the foreseeable future?
Man.
I mean, could you imagine that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would be a good lineup. And then, not to knock the Sixers, but they had certain guys that you felt like could have been a good piece. Like, like to help them out, like Isaiah Joe. We hate to keep bringing up the past, but dude, like if you had Isaiah Joe, you wouldn't have to worry about getting Buddy Hield. You know what I mean?
Right. You had him in-house. They had him in-house.
Like, you said Furkan Korkmaz was better than him, but Furkan couldn't even get in the rotation.
Right.
So it's just I don't know, a lot of mistakes. But yeah, I think you have to build around Maxey. And you could do it, find some other players, but I think that because Maxey's a smaller guard. So not having another big guard is a detriment to the team, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes particularly when you see Maxey out there with a Kyle Lowry, and we all know Kyle Lowry is kind of a gap piece, but a good piece. But when you had those two on the floor, particularly in the playoffs, they're both liabilities defensively. But as far as getting back to, I don't want people to think that we're saying Joel is because you can, as you said, you can theoretically build successfully around both of them. But I think that Maxey is your core only because of his availability. If Joel is, I wish I could get it out of my head, but the reality is the reality that Joel has missed 336 games, and we always go, that's 4 regular seasons carry to 8. So Joel may see this. Nobody's slighting him. His game is elite. I've been covering this game since the late 1990s, man, and where Joel is like nothing I've seen before. But you can't count on him. A guy like Maxey, you look at his skills. You start saying, hey, because Joel, and one thing about Joel, that Joel can do, he can pretty much play with anybody, and because of what he brings to the table, his elite play, he can play with anybody. But the guy who's really your core, and the bean counters in the 76ers realize this, like, hey, man, we're going to pay Joel a lot of money. But as far as extending runs, the ability to be a championship contender, the guy you really got to focus on now is a 23-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing you always say is the best ability is availability. Yeah. So I don't think there's anyone who can argue with that. Unfortunately, Joel just hasn't been available. Again, Great player, but he just has not been available, and that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we can talk about this a little bit more, but right now I want to talk to you all about FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and make every playoff shot count. It's FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day long? You sometimes have to turn down the volume with all that shouting, screaming, and hooping and hollering. So make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single solitary day.
Do it today, people. Definitely
Do
do it
it.
today. So look, here's the deal, man. Like, and I hate to bringing this up, but when we talk about the Sixers and the Boston Celtics, I remember.
And Keith, we both got on green too.
Yeah, but it ain't
talking about
yeah.
the Sixers, and you got the green and black. I will say those black uniforms the Celtics rock, they're kind of funky.
You like those things?
I like
that. Nah, I don't. You know what? I'm not a big fan. I hate to say it, but I ain't a fan of these like new unis. Like I like back in the day where the home team always wore white, and then they wore like their road like a color. You know what I mean? A different color. And then all these alternate. I mean, you think about it. The Lakers used to have the coldest uniforms. Sixers had some fly ones too. And the Celtics had that ugly stuff, but it was the Celtics. It looked like, okay, now they come up with these black Johns with the stuff on the side. Like, I don't know. I'm not really.
I like
it. Don't look like the Celtics to me. It looked like a summer league team or something like that. Uni. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just all about it. And another thing is I don't even like the fact that back in the day, and that's why I like Ant-Man. So Ant-Man's sneakers, for the most part, match the team uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, you got dudes playing for the Sixers wearing like purple sneaks, and stuff like that, and it's like, bruh, like, yo, like when I see you on the street, you matching from head to toe.
Yeah.
Now you come on the court
and
what is this purple on and orange and all this. Nah, I'm not a fan, but we could go on and on for that. But when you look at the Sixers and you look at the Celtics and you look at how the teams were built, there was a time that the Sixers had a brighter future, we thought, than the Boston Celtics when the process first started. You thought they had all these draft picks, they were going to do all this stuff. But guess what? What do you do with your picks? Right? I mean, so prime example. In back-to-back drafts, one year, the Sixers had the #1 pick. The Celtics had the #3 pick. The Sixers draft Ben Simmons, and they draft Markelle Fultz. The other team, Celtics, draft Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
You know what I call that? You know what I call that, Keith?
What?
One team drafted the Kitty Cats. One team drafted the Lions, the leader of the pack.
But it's crazy when you think about it, because those two dudes are all NBA type players on their squad, and the focal points, while the other two dudes aren't even on the team no more.
Yeah.
Not even on the team anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you trade one for James Harden. So then you end up trading James Harden for a slew of players. You get it back at quick spots and players. So now what you're trying to do is you basically trying to figure out what you can get for Ben Simmons after all those years, while this team is about to get a chip.
Yeah. You know
So
what?
it's crazy, man, when you look at the mistakes, and we could go on and on and on and on about them, but it just seemed like, I mean, a lot of stuff. Like when you look at it, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, they're lucky to get both of them. They were trying to go winless for Wiggins.
Yeah.
And I hate to bring up the past, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
And Joel Embiid fell to him because he was
Well,
hurt.
it's really a mistake with the 76ers organization. That was not their intended player.
I mean, yeah, they were fortunate. And then Tyrese Maxey fell to him at 22, and they were considering trading the pick.
Yeah.
So their two best players are guys that they were fortunate to get.
Yeah. It wasn't like they went in the lab and got those guys. It was like the experiment blew up in the lab, and they wound up getting the guys they had. And getting back to Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz, and I often, you use the word terminal. They're terminal mistakes that you make in the front office that can set your franchise back decades. Well, not decades, but 10 years. And when you have the number one pick in back-to-back seasons and you can't get it right, it's terminal. It's the equivalent of having a Lamborghini and getting a scratch on it, and when you had to cover it up by trading away a Ben Simmons and a Markelle Fultz. It's like having a Lamborghini, getting a scratch on it, and then getting a crayon and going over the dent. So people can't see it from afar, maybe, or the scratch. But when you look at it closely, it's like, man, did they F up or what?
Yeah.
And that's what the 76ers have done, man. And Boston, conversely, I mean, every time I look at Drew Holiday, and he's the player that resonates with me as the process, trading away him for Nerlens Noel, who amounted to nothing more than a pogo stick and a decent player at the end, towards the end of his career. But looking at Drew, the leadership, the leadership Drew had as a 19-year-old player, you could see it. He's, now we're talking about Olympian Drew Holiday. We're talking about world champion. Those are the kind of players you want in your organization, And when you have those players in your organization, and you jettison them, you become somewhat of a clown show. You really do, Mikal Bridges. We're trying to. We talk about it. Bring Mikal Bridges back here. Why can't he just be here? I mean, Zaire Smith, God bless him. I know he's had his trials and tribulations, but for all we know, he might be a science teacher or a police officer in Abilene, Texas, or something like that. I don't know where he is. I have no idea where he is. I wish him the very best wherever he may be, but it's another one of those absolutely egregious mistakes that you cannot sit around in an executive suite and say, this is better for our franchise than this is, and just blunder it like that, and just blunder it away. And like it or not, that's what they've done, man, for years. And things they've hit on, like you alluded to, have been luck.
Yeah, a lot of shit they hit on. Yeah, it's been luck. Yeah, a lot of the stuff they hit on, I mean, it was luck. I mean, you look at the draft picks they had, a lot. They traded a lot of those role playing draft picks they got too. And and the bad part is the last one they traded to the Celtics.
Right.
Their last draft pick they traded to the Celtics.
2021, right? Was
For a second round pick.
Yeah. And I like him, man.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, the point is they thought that they were going to be able to get draft picks to get Drummond and all this and that, and it didn't work out. It sound like y'all might have got played a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they're on the clock, Keith, man. They're on the clock to get something really right. They're on the clock to end a 41-year drought with no championships. So
yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that works. I don't know, man. We'll see. I mean, it doesn't just look good when their future was supposedly brighter than the 70. I mean, brighter than the Boston
Yep.
Celtics. And now you look at it, and I guess we figured that out several years ago that it wasn't. I mean, so. But look, we get
Yeah.
after this quick little break, we'll talk about better help.
Yeah. And listen, you ever have something on your chest that you need to get off of, something that's carrying around in your head? We all carry around different stressors. They're big and they're small. And when you keep them bottled up, trust me, it can start to affect us negatively. You ever consider therapy? Therapy is that safe space to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, here's my suggestion: give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to fit your schedule. So just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you know what? If you're not satisfied with the therapist you have, you can actually switch them anytime for no additional charge. So if you think you need to get something off your chest or you got something heavy on your mind, give BetterHelp a listen. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/locked on NBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on NBA.
Yo, man. So here's the deal, bro. Like, I want to talk about some things. I want to talk about this WNBA debate real quick. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, okay with you. Um, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, I'm starting to not like this. Now, first of all, it seems like I feel like everybody hyped up the WNBA. They hyped up Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were saying that she was the savior of the league. That's up for debate. Some people feel it, some people feel not. It is a great rookie class,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like now is a lot of people are getting their own personal agendas on it. Like if you look at some TV shows, one people are saying like the Pat McAfee show yesterday, he said this white bee, right? And I'm like, whoa. And I saw it live. I'm like, oh, you ain't hear about that?
Pat McAfee said that?
Oh yeah, man.
He
He
called
said
her
what
a
it is.
white bee?
Yeah, yeah. But he
Oh,
didn't say B, right? But with the way he did it is, I understood the way he did it was kind of like he was talking about race and all this and
mm-hmm.
saying like there's been white players before. So he
Right.
broke it down. He said, but now he basically was just saying there's this B like who's like everybody's upset over her,
Yeah.
right? This and that. I don't think he was being like critical of her. It was just kind of like it was like the type of discussion, like, yo, man, that MFer, your boy, that MFer, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But you don't say it on TV. So now
Yeah.
that's all everybody's talking about. Then
Yeah.
you go to First Take and you hear where Monica McNutt and Stephen A got into it and not
Yeah.
really into it, but she kind of told him like, look, bruh, you could have been doing this with your platform 3 years ago.
What did but nobody gave a damn. Let's be
Yeah,
real.
no, well, but what I'm saying is though, to me, it's kind of sort of like, are the question I have, are we making things worse with
Yeah.
the media? And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is, I think everybody hyped it up for Caitlin to be so good in the beginning, to be just dominating people.
Yeah.
And now, like when you look at that team, you can say, yeah, you can say the girls are jealous. You can say that if you want. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if they are or not, but I know when you look at that team, it's not that good. And she
Yeah.
the only one you got. So you get physical with her. She gets frustrated. They missing bunnies. She
Yeah.
turning the ball over, the whole thing. So the whole nine. But now all of a sudden it's like, since everybody hyped it up to
Mm-hmm.
be the best thing, Now it's like, oh, they hate her. Now they this, they that.
Yeah.
And it becomes it's kind of like, are y'all saying stuff to protect yourself now? Like, oh, I mean, what's the deal? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, like he's going to be the greatest thing, this and
Yeah.
that, da da da,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he's not. Well, and when I did do my reporting, I did say that he couldn't go left, so
Yeah.
he has to work on that. But nah, bro, for the most of the time, I was saying he was going to be the next thing since LeBron.
Yeah.
It is, and again, they are being physical on it. But when you look at this league, they're all physical, right?
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, some of those shots are kind of cheap. And you look at the refs, and it's kind of like, to me, the refs ain't calling it. You're going to keep it up. But to me, it's kind of like, I think this is starting to become divisive, dude.
Yeah, I think it is too.
For no rhyme or reason. And then everybody wants to talk about how great they are. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I'm getting tired of it already, dude. I'm going to be honest. I am getting tired. I'm getting tired of it. I mean, and I'm getting tired of it. And I honestly, to be honest with you, and I could be wrong, and people are going to get upset with me for saying this, but I felt the league was a little bit more competitive years ago. Like, it just seemed like the talent.
You were paying attention, Keith?
Back when they had like Cooper and
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I was like, maybe people could say something, but when I was a kid growing up, I used to watch women's basketball, college women's basketball. I used to love watching USC women. I used to like watching Texas.
The McGee twins at USC, Cheryl Miller. Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah, dumb. Because you know why? Because at the time, you looked at the NBA, and a lot of these guys were tall. So they were able to get, don't get me wrong, the skill level and all across the board was better back then. But you were able to see guys. I mean, you saw guys like dunking, doing this.
Yeah.
You're in the 5th grade, you're not dunking. So what it was is, I wasn't. So what it was is you looked and you saw people who were fundamentally sound. They did certain things. And I felt like at that particular time, the women's college basketball game, they had more fundamentally sound players than they did on the men's side. The men's side, you had guys wrong foot, missing bunnies, doing stuff, guys, they couldn't make foul shots in clutch moments. But the women's side seemed a little bit more disciplined. So I was a fan of women's basketball, college basketball, right? Now I look at it and I see it, and sometimes I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like the skill level just isn't there like it is. The same for the NBA, bro. You can say the same. It's like the AAU thing. So I'm saying this to say, like, I don't know. But deep down, I'm getting tired of the Caitlin Clark debate.
Yeah.
Great player, going to probably be a good player, right? Who knows? This and that, the hype. I don't know. But what I'm just saying is like, TV, it looked like people are using it for TV ratings now.
Yeah, we know what it is. You know what it is, Keith, man. It's what's going on. I wish Caitlin Clark and everybody, every lady in WNBA the very best. I do. But I think, unfortunately, what they are, this is the byproduct of the unresolved racial trash in our society. I think this is a situation where our society, which is stuck on race, 50 years after the civil rights movement, it seems like we want to go backwards. If you have somebody like Caitlin Clark who comes in and things get better for the rest of the WNBA, that's and ratings go up. Let's be quite honest. A lot of that is because she's a white player, and she is doing things that you typically don't see of white players. You see it now in the you see the European players coming in here and just being monsters in the NBA, but a lot of the racial trash that we have unresolved in our society, and is that we we project it onto the sport that we're watching. And it's sad because, you know what, while you do that, you miss out on the beauty of the game, and that's where we are right now. I mean, you'd be foolish to look at Caitlin Clark and her emergence in the WNBA and what preceded her, because she's not playing very well right now. And you can see that she doesn't have the athletic advantage in the WNBA that she had, when she's playing against Rhode Island in January or something like that. So it's an interesting subject, man. I think it will get better. I do believe it will get better. I think Caitlin Clark is good for the WNBA, but I think the pettiness, I like to see that go away.
Well, like I just got an alert on my phone, right? And while we're talking, Caitlin Clark, this is the headline. Caitlin Clark noticeably absent as Fever's players celebrate teammates Grace Berger's birthday on the lake. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I'm saying, dude.
She was getting a glass of water.
Huh? I mean, but that's what I'm saying. It's just like, so, and then, the thing is what the reporter actually did was, you got to be careful.
It's trash reporting, man. But our society has become trashy like that.
No, but what the reporter actually did, and you got to be careful, is so what happened is Aaliyah Boston posted a photo. Aaliyah Boston posted a photo on her Instagram story of her on the boat with several of her teammates behind her. Now, Caitlin may not have been there,
right?
But you can't just look at a photo and see the people in the photo and decipher who was there and who wasn't there, right?
And so create reasons why.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. It's just, I don't know. Like back in the day, you couldn't do that. They were like, "Well, did you call somebody to see if she was there? I mean, was she there early? Did she show up late?
Right.
Like you just don't come out and write stories like that, man. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Right. But y'all, look, we want to thank y'all for listening. But before we go, I want to talk to y'all about Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Do it today, people.
Definitely.
We always say, definitely do it today. But for my man Mitch, me, we want to say have a happy Tuesday. Do whatever you got to do, and chill. Be safe, because we're gonna see some NBA basketball in 2 days. So it should be fun. All right, y'all. Peace.
Go WNBA.
Go Akbar, because Akbar, your boy Akbar is listening.